Maybe. All right,
Maybe.
there we go. There's those guys. Let's get Facebook going. Hopefully, a little bit more punctual than us and the how long that took. Me, not you, Carl. Me. Spinning wheels. There we go. All right, welcome in, welcome in. It is Tuesday evening, the 6th of August. We got our Broncos' first initial unofficial depth chart. Can talk about some stuff. Exciting times. I'm Nick Kendell, joined by Carl Dumler. This is Building the Broncos. Carl, how you doing? I would sometimes say it's been a sec, but it hasn't been that long, I guess, right?
It's been, well, I guess a week since
Yeah,
you and I talked. It's been
yeah.
a couple weeks since I've actually been on the show. So no, things are good. Just cruising along. Get to go see my daughter do some 4-H this week. She's going to be doing a dog show.
Okay.
So very excited to see what that is all about. And she's already won a fashion show championship, which doesn't surprise me with my daughter because she puts on fashion shows at our house all the time. So yeah, it'll be fun. But and then of course Broncos game this week or Sunday, I guess, depending on when you say the next week starts. But so yeah, it's a good week. I'm excited for this.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I unfortunately still dealing with the sick bug, Rona, around here, but hopefully the little guy can go back to daycare and I can go back to work tomorrow. I'm like itching for routine. Like it's just been such like I've been lost in space here for Lord knows how long. So hopefully we can get back to work and start to establish whatever that looks like. But hopefully everyone in their routine is joining us on Tuesday evenings. We're here every single week, 6 p.m. for Building the Broncos. Let's say hello to everybody coming in. Daniel Barry coming in says, hey everyone, happy Tuesday. Got our guy David Youngkin. Hope you're doing well, David. Says, evening, everyone. It is for the preseason games, right? If that is the fact, that is fine. It's the first unofficial depth chart. It's going to change. I wouldn't read too much into it, but of course, it's the 24/7 news cycle. We're going to read into it. Maybe not too much, but what does it mean? Well, the spots that matter, the spots that don't matter, plenty still to be decided. So we'll see how it plays out. Good to see William Catalano in here. Got our guy Papa Bear says, good evening, Deborah Broncos, Nick, Carl, Deacon, Scott, whoever. Scott's not here yet. It's his son's birthday, so he'll be joining later. But because I think his son is 5 a.m. Football practice tomorrow, so you can't be up too late. But don't be misbehaving in there until Scott comes around. Then you can misbehave all you want. Good to see you. Thank you for the super chat. We got C Chang says, "What's up, Broncos? Hopefully you're doing well." Week 2, why are we wearing the away uniform? I don't know. I don't know why Denver, they released their uniforms schedule today, Carl. I don't know if you saw that. And yeah, they are wearing the white at home. I mean, I kind of like the white at home sometimes. Maybe they'll do some sort of alternate. I mean, I don't know, but we'll see.
I mean, honestly, it's probably the smart move. You think of Denver in September, it can still be 100 degrees. And if you actually factor in what it is on the field, it can be 110, 115 degrees. I mean, it's a lot hotter down there where the players are. And so forcing the other team to wear dark colors on a hot Denver day. Yeah, they might be, black.
It's the Steelers. Yeah.
Yeah. So honestly, it's pretty smart move. If I'm really looking at this objectively, I get it that it's the away uniform, so it feels weird for that to be in the Denver stadium, but I think it does give the Broncos just a hair advantage in that kind of game.
That is a great point, Carl. Some real interesting interesting part there. That feels like a Sean Payton detail, doesn't it? Like it's something like, what is the smallest thing we can do to just get the slightest little advantage? Well, we'll make the Steelers wear black and Denver wear white. So hopefully that'll be better there going forward. We got Ernie Mays saying, hello, Nick and Carl, go Broncos country. Roy Osborne's in the house. Your views on Stearns going to the Panthers? Yeah, let's get into this here. Caden Stearns, 5th round pick, Texas. Hard to make the team from the tub, right? He flashed potentially had that really good Colts game, Thursday night game 2 years ago. Pretty much the only person who had a good game in that one. That was a eyesore that, gosh, I mean, haven't seen something as ugly since the last presidential debate. No, zing. But no, that was an ugly one. Stearns had 2 picks, right? And just been injured so much. He's the 3rd, 4th safety on the depth chart last year of his contract as well as rookie contract. So I am thinking that It's not really a big deal. I'm hoping the best for him. He goes to the Panthers, teaming up again with Ejiro Evero, but fifth round pick, didn't play very much. You're going to be able to find safeties like that. Maybe he goes on. I hope he does well, but it kind of feels like, oh, why did Denver move on from TJ Ward? Or why did they move on from Sua Cravens? Not as much as TJ Ward, I guess. That's disrespectful because Ward did some good things. But at the end, guys drop off. But it's probably small potatoes in the end.
Yeah, you're right. And you got to think this guy was drafted from 2 coaching staffs ago. So
Yes.
you're talking the Vic Fangio era.
But it was George Payton. It was a George Payton pick.
That's
you're
true.
right for the coaching staffs. Yep.
Right. And they've drafted some safeties since then. It sounds like JL Skinner's having a really good training camp so far. And that's a guy that was picked by Sean Payton. And those guys are always going to get preferential treatment, whether they should or shouldn't, because a coach always believes that they know best and knows players better, and they want to prove that they are smart when it comes to the draft and free agency and all those kind of things. And I'm not saying that JL Skinner won't earn his place on this roster. I'm just saying sometimes those guys are looked more highly upon because they are that coach's pick. So Stearns, yeah, you're right. His rookie season, he had a couple promising moments that made you think, hey, this could be the future of the safety position. Justin Simmons is going to be getting up there in age. They've had some other safeties that were getting up, and so you needed that youth movement going on, and he couldn't stay healthy. And honestly, that is probably your biggest and best trait you can have in the NFL is your ability just to actually be available. And if you can't do that, all you are is a player that, if only, you're going to say that over and over again. And I think that's kind of where he's at in his career.
Also, if you're talking about the third or fourth safety on a team, special teams has to come in, play a huge role in that as well. And sounds like Skinner has been exciting their key in special teams as well. So I think that's probably, in the end, you make a spot. Wazarike reactivated. Obviously, the had thoughts that would happen in about August. So good to see that. Get some more defensive line depth. But at least I believe he was officially added to the roster.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, wish Caden Stearns well. Always kind of a fun, talkative guy on Twitter, X, whatever you call it as well. And he's going to the Carolina Panthers. There should be some opportunities there for him, but probably not something the Broncos are going to rue the day they moved on from Caden Stearns. It's hard, man. He's been injured so much. Injured guys a lot of times tend to stay injured. And I hope he doesn't. I'm not pulling against him. I hope he doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I hope he goes and has a good career. I do. Mm-hmm. And yes, that would suck because then Broncos would be looking back and going, oh, man. But at the same time, like I said, sometimes it just takes luck with injuries where you get away from a certain building. I'm not saying the Broncos training staff is bad because I do think they've gotten better from years past. I think the Walter Penner group is really invested in that group. Sean Payton is really big on keeping players healthy and doing everything possible in that department. So, no, I do. I wish him well. I think he has some real potential. So maybe the Panthers find themselves in a good spot here where it's kind of a low risk, medium reward, I guess I would say at this point. And like I said, with the Broncos, when you've got a couple other guys that you like that can help on special teams, you don't want to get to the end of the time going, who are we going to take here? Who are we going to keep? The guy that maybe has some better starting potential or the players that could really make the bigger impact right now?
Yeah. Yep. Totally agree. And again, more years of control, more options. So
yeah,
we'll see what happens with the other guys, and it'll be a spot worth watching because the safety spot with Jones now having the hamstring issue, a lot up in the air there. Chase says, BTB, good to see you. We got Woofy says, good evening, my fellow Broncos enthusiasts. How are you today? Obviously, I can't talk. I don't know. It's probably the 2 hours of sleep I got last night. Eric Flynn in the house. Good to see you, Eric. Hope you're doing well. Thank you so much for the support. Always appreciate you coming in. Doug comes in and says, Sean just messing with the media about the depth chart, and they fall for it hook, line, and sinker. I mean, he has the ability to put it out there, right? And it's just the preseason game, right? Maybe this means that Bo Nix gets more reps in the end because he's the 3. I don't know if I want to put him behind that third string offensive line, but it's the unofficial first depth chart. They have to put it out there, right? I don't think it's it means something, but for some positions, but it means nothing for others.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, actions, what's the best way to say this? Actions are a language.
Mhm.
Your what you actually do compared to what you say. And so we know in practice, Bo Nix is not third string. Pretty much for the last week and a half, it has been between him and Stidham, rotating who's first, who's second. And so we know that right now he's at least second string, if not possibly first string. Now I'm with you. I think I don't mind how they put out the depth chart with all the rookies being third string or worse, pretty much. That's fine. No big deal. I mean, that's just, hey, rookies, keep going. You still got to go out there and earn it. That's fine. And it's like you said, he's got to put one out. I think Sean Payton even said today, just joking with the media, said, I spent 5 minutes working on this thing. Like he doesn't take it serious. He's trying to let people know he doesn't take it serious. So we shouldn't take it all that serious. But
Yep.
I will be frustrated, like you said, if he is behind the third string offensive line and all of a sudden he takes a couple hits that he shouldn't have taken. And all of a sudden we go from, oh, this could be our week one starter to he's banged up and is missing practices because we decided to mess around. And now we found out.
Yep. And I mean, Nix has been doing well, but I mean, the same time, a lot in Broncos media and fans have not seen quality quarterback play for a bit, right? We have questions on the defense. It's zero sum right now, unfortunately. So we'll get a little bit more idea with preseason and the combined practice coming up at some point. Was it the Packers this year? I'm still coming back from the wilderness here and brain fog, right? Everything going on. I think it's the Packers. That's a good team, really good defensive line. So we'll see what happens, but I don't know if he's like Sean intentionally misleading the media, but anybody losing their minds about it, he's probably laughing at
Yeah.
right now. Because again, probably not the biggest thing. We got our guy Lawrence coming in, says, "What's up, guys? $5 super. Thank you so much." He says, "What's the depth chart look like?" Nothing too crazy. I mean, any real surprises there? You got Troutman as the first tight end with Dulcich edging Kroll. I mean, we're kind of watching that battle. Parrott and Palshetsky, the backup tackle spot. Luke Wattenberg starting center. You got Tim Patrick listed as a wide receiver one. Cortland Sutton as a wide receiver one with Reynolds behind him and Mims in the second string. Nothing too crazy there. Samaje P. Ryan is second string still. You got Stidham, Wilson, Nix. I mean, does that mean anything? Probably not. Cooper and Browning starting at edge. I did love the linebacker spot and the cornerback spot where it's listed as Griffith or Barton or Mathis or Moss, despite all the talk of Wallace being mostly in battle with Moss right now for that other cornerback spot based on camp talk. But those are the big ones right now. We can pull it up as well if we want to down the line. That's just my first run through, just kind of
Yeah.
like general thoughts on it.
Yeah. I told somebody the other day, I thought, don't count Wattenberg out for starting center.
Yep.
I know everybody's pulling for the other guy just because he actually played with Bo Nix before. And I get like that matters to a little bit. You still got to play the better player. It's the NFL. Like what you did in college, great. It got you to the NFL, but now the slate has been wiped clean and now you got to go out there and prove yourself all over again.
Yeah.
And I really did like what Wattenberg did last year. Like his rookie season, terrible. Part of me was sitting there saying, what is this guy doing on the roster? But last year, when he got his chances, I know they weren't very many. He looked very, very competent out there. And so when they announced that he was going to be in this competition for starting center, I was kind of going, hey, this guy, he's got a little bit more experience. He's put on some muscle. The center position is one of those. It's great. You get a little bit of help usually. You're not in a whole lot of one-on-one situations as a center. Your job is a lot more of the double teams, getting to the right side, getting people lined up right. And I think he can do a lot of that. And so, like I said, I would not be shocked if he wins the job and actually is a competent center for the Broncos.
And center's a position that's slow to develop too, right? We're entering year 3. Last year, the early returns on Chris Cooper were good. I don't expect him to be as good as Lloyd Cushenberry was last season out of the gate. But You have 2 years of control left. You actually have a cheap cost controlled player on that unit that is one of the highest paid offensive lines in football. That's what's going to happen when you're paying 4 or 5 big bucks.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's happy to see that. As far as the the other part of the offensive line, shout out, feel really bad for Quinn Bailey. Hopefully he's on the mend. We won't see him this season. But the offensive line depth is something that we've talked about a lot on here. And we're really going to get an idea of what it looks like in preseason, right? There's going to be more snaps of the second and third stringers than the first stringers. I would assume. We'll see the first, out there, probably the first game, then maybe on ice after that. But how does it look? We'll see Forsyth out there, Sherman, and I'm really curious in that backup tackle battle. Neither of these guys I probably believe are the long term. Like, I don't think either of these guys are going to be replacing Bowles next season. We'll see if crazy things happen. But
Yeah.
the data says undrafted. I guess Parrott was a late 3rd round pick, but Palshetsky, undrafted tackle, not a great hit rate there historically. So swing tackle, now that Quinn Bailey's out, especially going to be interesting to watch that going forward. Who's the most versatile? Palshetsky last year got injured and kind of, was silent after that, but Denver didn't have many injuries, so they got lucky there. Offensive line depth is a big one for me. You don't think about it because it's like, oh, well, look at our first string until you need them. And then it's like, oh my God, these guys couldn't, tie their shoes. Like that kind of like terrible coordination, obviously hyperbole there. Those don't come beat my, backup offensive lineman, but that's an area I'm really intrigued by in preseason.
Yeah, I think back to the 2015 Super Bowl team. Like, yeah, the offense wasn't great, but they kind of patched that offensive line together because of some injuries. Ryan Clady lost to injury, so all of a sudden you got to find yourself a new left tackle. Left guard got hurt early in training camp, so all of a sudden they went and spent $4 million, and I'm trying to remember the guy's name that they got, who turned into a great signing for him. Shoot.
I'm blanking right now too.
Yeah, he was a left guard for, I think, Philly for a lot of years.
Mathis. I think it was right guard. Maybe he's left
guard.
Yeah. Mathis.
That's right. And so like you need one of those kind of players because, like you said, most seasons, 9 out of 10 seasons, you're going to have one of those guys get hurt. And you're going to have to replace them for an entire season or half a season or whatever. And if all of a sudden you have this huge weak link in that offensive line, you can have 5 average starters across the offensive line and be a good offensive line, but you could have 4 great starters and 1 weak link and destroy the entire offensive line. So that's why those backups really do matter.
And there's just not enough quality offensive linemen, especially tackle, in the league. That's why you see average tackles get paid unbelievable money. There's just not a lot that have the athleticism, strength, size, health that are walking the earth. Speaking of walking the earth, Michael Ronquillo, I'm glad to see you walking the earth. Hope you're doing well out there in Arizona, enjoying a monsoon season, I'm sure. Well, it says, good evening, Nick and Carl, on building the Broncos. Go Broncos. We got Monica coming in. Always thought that Stidham would be the better quarterback in camp due to knowing Sean's system, but I do believe Bo Nix must be a starter, must start to become a better QB in the NFL. What are your thoughts? If Bo Nix understands the offense and what Sean Payton wants to do and is anywhere close to the competency, which is not probably the highest baseline level with Stidham, then you got to go with Bo Nix. This isn't, 20-year-old, 1 year of college experience, huge tools, but just kind of learning the game kind of guy. This is 61 career starts, 24-year-old, second oldest quarterback drafted dating back to like Brandon Weeden, first round quarterback drafted back to Brandon Weeden. He's experienced as far as the college game goes now. NFL's a different beast, but it's as long as he knows the playbook and Sean trusts him, then get him out there.
Yeah, and it sounds like, yes, early in training camp, Jared Stidham was definitely the better quarterback. But it does sound like Bo Nix has slowly been increasing, getting a little more consistent, starting to catch up, close that gap. And like you said, if it's close, you go with Bo Nix. Mm-hmm. You need to get him on the field early and often. You need to take advantage of this rookie contract. And I still always go back to, like, there are a few players it is good to have them sit because they are definitely not even close to being ready. But if they have any chance of really making it in the NFL, like, you've got to go get them that experience. Peyton Manning talked about that. Like, his rookie season sucked. He had a lot of really bad plays that rookie season. but he said that set me up for the success that I had later on. Like he learned so much from his mistakes during that time. And it really sucks to go through that, not only as the player, but us as fans to have to go through the growing pains. Sometimes you have those rookies that come out there and do great. Justin Herbert, CJ Stroud this last year, Cam Newton had a great rookie season, and that's great. But usually it is those growing pains where you get those flashes of greatness, and then all of a sudden they really take off that next year where things start to click. They start understanding how a defense is trying to play them. The different defensive, wild packages that they're trying to throw at, especially a rookie to get them riled up. All those kind of things that all of a sudden start slowing down. So, there's nothing like being actually on the field. You can learn from tape, but actually experiencing it is a whole different game.
Yeah, without a doubt. String Guy comes in and says, question for Nix has always been arm strength. Not always. It's just not, I would say, a big plus for him. Not overwhelming. He's not that power pitcher out of the bullpen, which is fine. Peyton Manning wasn't that either, especially at the end. But, you have to be so good in other technical areas. But again, it's not that bad. He's fine. It's an average NFL arm. Carl, can you evaluate all three quarterbacks on arm talent? So arm talent, not arm strength. It's a different thing here.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess I'll say arm strength. Zach Wilson's going to be your top guy. You think back to, I think his pro day that he had. Like he was having some incredible throws. A lot of people talked about it. There was times that senior year for him or junior, I can't remember which one it was, but that last year in college, he had some just ridiculous throws that he made down the field. So arm strength, Zach Wilson is by far the better choice. Stidham and Bo Nix, I'd say they're probably pretty comparable when it comes to arm strength. Arm talent, Bo Nix is the best. His ability to throw on the move, throw from some different arm slots, his accuracy that we saw in college. Now, obviously, like throwing accuracy percentage that we saw, like because he broke the college record, and actually accurate are two different things. But he was still a very accurate quarterback. Like maybe not as accurate as his numbers said, because it was kind of inflated by all the short throws that he was making there that his senior year. But he's still a very accurate quarterback. So for an actual arm talent look, Bo Nix is definitely your best choice. Jarrett Stidham is next, and Zach Wilson is third. Like Zach Wilson, I'm sorry. I've watched his time there with the Jets. It has not been good. Yeah. Like he is very inaccurate. He is very inconsistent. He has some great moments, but it just reminds me of those guys you play football in the backyard. Like they'll miss you 4 out of 5 times, but that 5th throw will be just perfect. And they're going, oh man, I should have stuck with this. I could have had an NFL career. Like, no, you made one great throw. You're 20%. That's what he does. So yeah, like I said, I think that's how it's going to play out when we get to week 1. I think Bo Nix is going to be your starter because I do think he is the most talented.
Yep. GGG comes in and says with 199 and says the mind games begin. So happy it's the season. Actual real news. It's great. Wolfie also with some news here. Didn't we release and sign a linebacker today? We released Perkins, who was an outside linebacker, Ronnie Perkins from Oklahoma, and they signed. Was it Alex Fort? Is that the Alec? Excuse me, Alec Mock. The name Air Force. Sorry guys, I don't watch my Air Force football out there so much. But ex Air Force linebacker Mock. We'll see what happens. I mean, guys that are added this time of year, it's very, very much a long shot. So we'll see if he sticks around, or he could be one of those guys that Broncos have released Mock and bring in another player XYZ. So, not to make light, congratulations to him. Kind of local to Colorado Springs right there with Air Force. But linebacker's a spot that they're gonna be hunting, no doubt. Hence we had the Cody Barton or Jonas Griffith. Maybe it's a little bit of both, right? Jonas Griffith base package rundowns and more so Cody Barton obvious pass situations. We'll see how these snaps fall for them. We got Nosh coming in 1999, says, hey brothers, how do you see the quarterback rotation unfold over the preseason games? I think it's going to be an earnest. You're going to see Stidham out there. I think Wilson might fall a little bit. You might see Wilson get some garbage, fodder time based on what we've heard about him in camp so far. The third stringers and getting pummeled. Well, I'm sorry, man, you're getting blocked with third stringers here. I don't know what to tell you for a team that hasn't used a lot of draft capital in the offensive line as well. Well, I mean, maybe give Cooper some credit. We'll see what happens. But I think it'll be pretty close, Stidham and Nix, and I think eventually Nix will take over and pull away.
When would you expect Sean Payton to make that announcement?
I mean, God, we might not even know until he's actually. Is there laws now that he has to announce that? I know there's like weird stuff with betting in like college, like they have to disclose injuries and stuff, but like it could be, a little bit of mind games leading up to week 1. Like, oh, maybe we'll play a little bit of both of them. I mean, if he's going to go as far as the uniform stuff against the Steelers, right? Like why give the Seahawks one opponent to prepare for, right? Stidham versus Nix. Now, granted, it's not like crazy different styles there, but let them think a little bit. I have to prepare for 2 guys.
Yeah, so
that's what I would do.
Yeah, I know, I get it. I kind of expect mind-wise, like you said, selling it to the fans. I think he'll do that. I do think it's important for Nix to get a little bit of work with the ones in preseason.
Mm-hmm.
So I would expect Stidham to start this first one, Nix to come in with the second string when we actually get to the game. Just because, again, I don't want to stick behind that third string offensive line and risk that injury. Not saying the second string offensive line is going to be great, but it's going to be a little bit better. Plus, he'd be throwing to a couple receivers that he would maybe be throwing to during the season. And then I can see how they've been doing training camp, every other practice, switching back and forth of who's the starter. And then, Peyton could sell it that way and say, oh, hey, well, Nix, now we're going to give him his chance with the ones in the next one. Not naming him the starter, like for the season, but just saying, hey, now we need to give him his shot to get those reps with the ones, see how he does compared to what Stidham did. And then hold off, like you said, on that decision until you absolutely have to make the real call. Already knowing in the building what you're going to do.
Yep.
But like I said, Sean Payton, he loves those mind games. I mean, the fact right after the draft, he's coming out going, oh, yeah, I was messing with teams of who we liked. And we were selling it that we were going to move up and get this guy only to make sure that our guy fell to us. And how much of that is all true or just a guy blowing smoke? I don't know. Sean Payton, he likes the sound of his own voice.
Yeah.
I think he's a very smart guy. I'm not trying to take away from him by any means because I think he's a great football mind. But I really do think, he will. It's true. And there's been guys like that in the league, and they've backed it up with actually then good football play on the field. That's all I care about. If he can back it up on the field, I'm okay with him being an arrogant jerk.
As long as he's not, breaking laws and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Of course. Thank you so much, Naj. We got Adam Strange in here. What's up? Hope you're doing well. Jeffra says Mahomes owns the AFC West. Jeffa? Sorry, I can't get your name right. Mahomes owns the NFL right now. So enjoy it. I mean, just is what it is, right? He's pretty incredible. Hopefully Denver can topple him at some point. But Father Time's undefeated. Now we're ways off from that, but Denver had a really good run, and now the Chiefs are enjoying it. But eventually the sun sets, so we'll see. Maybe Denver got their own quarterback to go toe-to-toe. We'll see. Definitely beliefs as high as it's been since Denver traded Russell Wilson leading up to the first snap. Dennis Woods comes in, like the Hawkeye logo there. Thank you so much for that. $5 super. Thank you for that as well. Says, given your comments about left tackles in the league, do you see the Broncos extending Bowles' contract? The Garrett Bowles contract situation is very much up in the air. I think that if Denver really wanted him and prioritized him, he would have signed a new contract by now, but you still are going to have opportunities there going forward. You're going to have much more money freed up next season, and you'll have a chance to come back to the table. So right now, I think it's more likely Bowles walks just because if they valued him, you get a contract done before this point that we're at now, because you could even lower the cap hit this season to do that. But I would not say that he's out the door completely either. We got football left to be played.
He's such a difficult player to pin right now because you can tell the team likes him, but they don't love him. They've been trying to trade him for pretty much 2 seasons now, and they haven't they've held strong on, hey, this is what we need to get to be willing to trade him, because you don't want to be left with a horrible left tackle situation. But at the same time, you think about his age. I think he's 32 right now. I think that's right. Which, I mean, left tackles, you're seeing some of them last 36 years old and still being a high quality player in the NFL. So I'm not too worried about if you extend him and whether he's going to have this dramatic fall. Like, left tackles usually do pretty darn good of aging gracefully in the NFL.
Yeah,
but
typically.
he's one of those players. He's right on that edge of you're always looking for his replacement, because he's good, not great. And you're hoping you can get great. And obviously the Broncos have not been able to draft a left tackle for, well, I guess a tackle since him. That was the last time they drafted one, back in 2017. So I'm sure that's going to be high on their priority list if they do decide to move on. But if they have like a top 10 pick, it does sound like this could be another really good tackle class coming up. I know who's the guy that puts out his freak list?
Bruce Feldman.
And he had a lot of offensive linemen on that list for this year. So there's going to be some decent ones coming out. Just, again, they go high. So you got to be willing to possibly overdraft to get your guy.
Yep. We got Troy coming in. Good to see you, Troy. It's difficult to know whether playing Nick's right away will turn out like Manning or Carr. It's not obvious which to even do if Nick's is better than Stidham. Hard to pull him once you start him. Be careful. Yeah, it would. I mean, once he's in, barring injury, it'd be pretty darn hard to do it, to pull him. So you do give yourself a little bit of leeway, a jolt, right, for sitting on him. But also, are you slowing down progress? Are you giving your team the best chance to win 2 to 3 years down the line? If you're delaying that, does it even matter if he sits, the first 4 weeks? Is that going to change anything that much? I don't know. As far as Manning or Carr, I mean, the Carr especially is a pretty outlier example, because it was the expansion draft team, like number 1 overall. I mean, you want to talk about if you played Denver's third string offensive line then we'd have a conversation about like Carr going out there being similar to like Nick's going out there right now.
Yeah.
But Denver with Peyton here, you have a known quantity inside, and you have you don't have any like real known like Pro Bowl difference makers probably at the playmaker spots. We'll wait and see. I mean, I know Mims was a Pro Bowler, but not as a receiver. But you paid the offensive line a lot. You have Sean Payton here. You have at least an okay floor with the pass catchers and the running backs, right? So I don't think it's a Carr with the Texans situation. I mean, if Nick struggles or whatever, there'll be excuses. Sutton's his best receiver. Who's he throwing to at tight end? Javonte Williams, wash, blah, blah, blah. But I think the floor is, it's not the ceiling. I don't think the ceiling's super high, especially on the pass catchers. But as far as the overall offensive infrastructure, I think it's solid, especially when you have a guy like Sean Payton pulling the strings.
Yeah. The one rookie right now that I especially would say, please do not play him just because of the lack of talent around him, is Drake May. The Patriots, not a great offensive line. Their best weapon might be a rookie right now, Javon Baker. Maybe. So he's the one that I'm sitting there saying, I don't think you can get a good look at him right now. And if anything, you could do a lot of damage. Where the Broncos, like I said, I think they're going to have at the very least, a competent offensive line with the possibility of being a top 10, top 7 offensive line. That's the big thing. If he can have good blocking in front of him and have a strong running game that he can lean into, and like I said, the weapons, I don't expect them to be top 10 by any means. But if they can be in that 10 to 20 range in the NFL, or 11 to 20, that's fine. He can make that work. It's not going to be the most explosive offense because they don't have a ton of speed. Sutton's not fast. Tim Patrick's probably lost a step. Mims has some speed. Troy Franklin has a little bit of speed. Reynolds is okay, but it's not the Chiefs with what they've got right now. It's not Miami, who should be competing in the Olympics right now. But it's an okay unit. So like I said, I don't think it's going to be a Carr situation. I think you can feel okay sticking him out there and not thinking that you're going to destroy any kind of confidence or Kind of a Sam Darnold, I'm feeling ghosts kind of situation.
Yeah. I don't know if something's going on with YouTube. YouTube folks, let us know what's going on because we're answering this and people are like, wow, they're late. I wouldn't expect that from them. And then now Doug's saying we're late. We've been live since 5:05 my time. So YouTubers, let us know what's going on. You guys are talking like we're here. I don't know. I don't know. Hopefully we're here. If not, I mean, I got the green check mark on my screen.
Yeah.
So you guys let us know. They're talking about it like we are not here. So hopefully fine. I don't know. If not, then YouTube or StreamYard had a bug because we're here. We're going live. I hear a baby screaming above me. So not going to go too much longer, but appreciate everyone. We got Lawrence Rivera also $10 on YouTube. Hopefully you're seeing this, Lawrence. Career-wise, Bo is green, which leads to sacks and interceptions. Zach's game to lose after going out and getting him while having Stidham and Mr. Ham has some pressure to be the best QB or be fired. I mean, Denver paid so little investment-wise for Zach that I just can't imagine like looking at it as it's his to lose, right? Also, as far as Bo being green, we'll see what the sacks and interceptions look like going for the NFL game. But arguably, that floor and keeping the offense chugging along. I think Jay Roper had the comment earlier about Bo Nix, just constantly checking the ball down being a worry. I'm not really worried about the sacks and the interceptions, more so as what does it look like in a offense that forces him to play within the pocket a little bit more versus the immediate dump down to superior athletes in space with the wide hash marks and the no tackle Pac-12. But RIP Pac-12. I'm not sure I agree with this comment, Lawrence. Appreciate you. Appreciate the $10. We'll see what happens. Also, I mean, by all accounts, Zach's been the lesser of the three, and I do not think I would go as far as to say it's his to lose right now.
Yeah, I would say Stidham obviously had the best starting spot of all three of them. If you're just talking Olympics, if we're doing like the 100-meter race, I would say that Zach and Bo were probably starting about the same spot. Stidham had maybe a 10-yard head start to start this off. It wasn't a huge lead, but enough to notice it. And partly because, he's been in the building. He knows the offense. He was handpicked by Sean Payton last year. I would say Sean Payton had more good things to say about him than he ever did Russell Wilson. And, but at the same time, Bo has slowly crept up. I think he's pretty much even out. I would call it a coin flip at this point of who's actually going to be the true starter. Probably still, I would still lean towards Bo Nix just because we've still got a few more weeks. And if the rookie's already caught up, I don't think Stidham's all of a sudden going to take this leap forward.
Yeah.
Where Bo Nix, I think, can still have a couple more steps going into the season.
We still need to see what it looks like against other opponents in a less controlled environment. So that's another big hurdle, just, proof of concept, right? But I'm with you. Right now, I would be pretty shocked if it's not Bo. Naj also coming in again. Thank you so much. Says, brother, sounds like Marvin Mims has struggled this camp. Do you see him slipping in the depth chart with how competitive that room is? I mean, Naj, I appreciate you. I don't know if I would call Tim Patrick missing 2 years in a row. And Josh Reynolds, they paid, what was it, $8 million for in this wide receiver market. That's not a highly invested room. Now I like the floor. You kind of know what you're getting with those guys, but Will Jordan Humphrey, David Sills, I mean, Philip Dorsett, Brandon Johnson, I don't think we're oozing with talent at the wide receiver spot. So if Mims is struggling, I am concerned. He's not been the wide receiver I've heard with struggles so far. It's been more Troy Franklin concerns, but we'll see. Mims is still really young. He came from very wide open Lincoln Riley stuff out there. So the physicality of the game, getting off of press. I haven't seen any clips of him getting clowned like wide receiver the Chiefs took, whose name's escaping me right. Yeah, Worthy. Yeah, I mean, you got to play some big boy football sometimes in the NFL. They're going to get hands on you. It's got to pretend like it's the Big Ten West or the SEC. But he might slip in the depth chart, right? There's a real conversation for distribution of targets. You got Tim Patrick and you got Josh Reynolds now. With Cortland Sutton, you're kind of building a skyscraper room there. Maybe you want a little bit more differences. Maybe Mims becomes a little bit more gadgety. got to protect the bleeping football if that's the case. But we'll see. He is a playmaker with the ball in his hands, but got to do the right stuff before the ball's there, and also after the ball's there, to earn that wide receiver spot in the reps. And I can see that we are live, and you guys just had to restart it, so that's good to hear. Because String Guy's saying we're late. We're not late, String Guy. Somebody tell String Guy that we're not late. I don't know what's going on there. We're here. We're here. We're hanging out.
Yeah, and I saw Pearl asked that question. Could you see Mims being cut? No. He still has incredible value on special teams. And especially since we don't know how much special teams is going to play a part this year, the kickoff could all of a sudden become a really big play. And having a playmaker like Mims that can really change a game with one play, he's not going to be cut.
Mm-hmm.
But his impact on offense is very much up in the air right now.
Yeah.
I know they said there was one practice he threw his helmet twice because he was upset with not getting the football. And so then the next practice, like the first 5 plays were ones where they tried to get the ball in his hands and they either were incomplete or negative plays. And so, he's got to learn how to function within the real offense. Like you said, he could be a gadget player, but the problem is then teams can start figuring out like, oh, he's on the field. They're about to run a gadget play. They're either going to fake it to him or they're going to hand it off to him. So we got to watch out for that kind of thing, or run the screen and try to do something. He's just got to develop more of his game. That was my big question coming out of college was like, he's athletic to no end. Like the guy can go make plays. He can get up to top speed like crazy. He's just, you could see with his route running, it was sloppy. He just most of his life gotten away with this, just being athletic, more athletic than everybody else around him. Well, in the NFL, that doesn't happen. I'm sorry. Everybody is that player. Everybody is that guy that was on his high school and college team. And so you've got to now separate yourself by doing the little things right. And he hasn't learned that yet. So I'm hoping he can because he is a very talented player. That's why they were willing to take him in the second round last year. And like I said, we've seen it on special teams. He's now got to start working on how to carve a rollout for the offense.
Yeah, absolutely. Glad to see everybody's going well in here. Obviously, the news in there with the Broncos initial depth chart. We got Michael coming in also. The support, always appreciate you. You guys are killing it today. Click a thumbs up if you feel like we're doing it. Good to see Mike S in here as well. Always appreciate you. Pearl, also glad to see that you seem to be safe from that fire in Colorado. I'm glad you guys are getting those under control. Maybe we could start to get some stuff on the west side under control. I don't know. But Bo Nix being quarterback 3, small potatoes. I don't care. It doesn't bother me. What does he look like? What are the snaps distribution going to be? I just don't think it matters one single bit. Now you have Jonas Griffith and Cody Barton listed as or together. Interested. Mathis and Moss listed over Wallace. Interested.
Yeah.
Nix quarterback 3. Wake me up later. I'll watch the games and we'll see how it plays out. What do the reps say versus what does the unofficial depth chart say?
Right. Like I said, actions can speak much louder than words. Coaches, that's why they call it coach speak. Always going to talk out there, what. And they're going to say things and go, oh, yeah, we would never cut this player. And then the next day that player's cut. Or this player's having a great camp and they don't make the roster. It just, that's the way it goes. I've heard even Sean Payton talk some about Troy Franklin and some of the big plays he's making. But then you actually talk to people that are on the ground. They're going, yeah, he's not having a great training camp.
Mm-hmm.
He's, he has like a couple big plays here and there, but the rest of the time he looks lost and he's dropped a lot of footballs and he is not, I saw somebody earlier talking about Vele, that he's having a really good training camp. Like I've had people tell me like, yeah, Vele's having the better camp. If we're going by what they've shown in training camp right now, Troy Franklin would be not on the roster for the top 53. Vele would.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, Troy Franklin being a 4th round pick, that gives him a little bit of cushion to mess up compared to a 7th rounder like Vele or an undrafted guy. But still, like, it'll be interesting to see would Sean Payton be willing to cut a 4th rounder if the 7th rounder outperforms him.
I think possibly, but we'll see. And speaking about being cut, I'm gonna have to cut myself here because baby continues to scream and cry and can't leave a COVID sick kid with a COVID infected mother. So I gotta fly. Carl, appreciate you. Hopefully my internet didn't just tank. It looks like it did. Wow. All right, I'm still here. Hello, anybody? Carl, let me know. Oh no,
Oh,
unbelievable. I'm here. Okay.
yeah,
My internet was
I'm
saying it
back.
was time to go too. So
Yeah.
I could see that it was my Wi-Fi, not yours. But yeah, make sure you guys are following Carl and I on Twitter. Carl is at Carl Dumler MHH. I'm at Nick Kendell MHH. Also follow us at Mile High Huddle. If you haven't done so yet, facebook.com/Mile High Huddle and facebook.com/Mile High Huddle pod. Subscribe, like, and share over on YouTube if you haven't done so already. Shout out to all our star folks, David McElrath, Lawrence Rivera, GGG, Naj, Dennis Woods, Troy Boer, Lawrence again, Naj again, Michael Ronquillo, of course, as well. If I missed any on the Facebook side of things, it's Scott's fault. He's not here. What are you doing, Scott, celebrating your son's birthday? How dare you? Obviously, this is more important as I run off to go help with my son. But any final thoughts, Carl? I mean, we mainly focused on Knicks. Anything else really stand out? Yeah, you got 10 seconds. 5. No,
Yeah. No, like I said, I saw somebody say something about, could you see Franklin on the practice squad? I could. A lot of teams, safe or wide receiver seems to be able to make it through even a 4th rounder. And especially knowing that he had issues with coaches in the past, sometimes learning the playbook, those kind of things. A lot of teams probably didn't even have him on their board. So I could see it. If the Broncos are saying, hey, we're not keeping a 4th rounder, I think that could scare a lot of teams going, I don't want to touch this guy.
Mm-hmm.
He could come and destroy our locker room. But, I still hope he makes it because he is a very talented player. He's got that element of speed the Broncos don't have a lot of.
Yep.
They need those kind of guys that can win over the top. So, like I said, excited for Sunday, excited to see some of those competitions, inside linebacker, center, cornerback, those kind of positions almost more than the quarterback position.
Yeah, be a lot of fun. I'm definitely more excited to see Bo next, though. But appreciate everyone. Have a great rest of your day. I'll be live again tomorrow morning. Hopefully, I can get more than 2 hours of sleep or whatever it was. Everyone have a great one. Continue to choose kindness and compassion. Thanks to all our watchers. Click the thumbs up on the way out. Go Broncos.